Hogfish see with their skin, even when they're dead. The camouflaging talents of this fish are driven by a mysterious new type of cell, setting it apart from other animals that know how to blend in. As a marine biologist, Lorian Schweikart knew hogfish could change color to match their surroundings. But as an angler, she noticed something that wasn't in the textbooks. Hogfish can camouflage even after they're dead. When Dr. Schweikart saw a hogfish with a conspicuous spearfishing hole through its body change color to match the texture of a boat's deck, it gave me this idea that the skin itself was seeing the surrounding environment, she said. New research by Dr. Schweikart and her team provides a compelling explanation for how and why hogfish blend into their background, even in the afterlife. In a study published on Tuesday in the journal Nature Communications, they identified a mysterious new type of cell deep in the hogfish's skin that might allow the fish not only to monitor its surroundings but also to edit its skin color. Hogfish are masters of change. They're sequential hermaphrodites, meaning every hogfish hatches female but can become male once it reaches a certain size or if a power vacuum arises in its social group. And as they cruise the reefs and sand flats of the western Atlantic, hogfish can toggle between three color morphs: a ruddy brown, a pearly white and a stripy or dappled red coloration, in less than a second. Dr. Schweikart suspected that the hogfish's ability to camouflage while dead was just a quirk, that some part of the color-changing system was taking a while to get the memo that it was a former fish. Earlier in her quest to figure out how hogfish pull off their zombie color change without a living brain, Dr. Schweikart used genetic analysis to discover that there were opsins, light-detecting proteins also found in human retinas, in the hogfish's skin. But what exactly were the opsins doing? And why see through the skin at all when hogfish have a perfectly good pair of eyes? Dr. Schweikart hoped the answer might lie in the arrangement of the cells in the hogfish's skin. She and her team used glowing antibodies to pinpoint the opsins, and transmission electron microscopy allowed them to peer into the cellular structures. The imaging revealed that the opsins weren't on the surface of the skin, where they would have the best view of the outside world. Instead, they were beneath a layer of chromatophores, inkjet cells that produce a color change by expanding and contracting packets of pigment and concentrated in a previously unknown cell type. I absolutely screamed, said Dr. Schweikart, now an assistant professor of biology at the University of North Carolina, Wilmington. Nothing had ever been seen like this. Beneath each chromatophore is a cell chock full of opsins, the first specialized cell for dermal photoreception or skin site identified in a vertebrate, the authors say. Other researchers who study dermal photoreception say the results are striking. Dr. Schweikart and her team achieved a crazy amount of detail, said Desmond Ramirez, a postdoctoral researcher at the University of Massachusetts Amherst who has studied dermal photoreception in octopuses and was a peer reviewer of the paper. Todd Oakley, an evolutionary biology professor at the University of California, Santa Barbara, who has also studied octopus dermal photoreception and wasn't involved in the paper, said the new research went a long way toward explaining the relationship between chromatophores and opsins in hogfish. The structural arrangement the team identified suggests that hogfish cells aren't just being used to look at the outside world. Dr. Schweikart had been puzzled when a previous study revealed the opsins were attuned to blue light, which might not be very useful in the blue ocean. But everything clicked when the team realized that the chromatophores might act as a filter, Dr. Schweikart said. Additional experiments confirmed that the red-brown of the hogfish's chromatophore pigments absorb most blue light, meaning the redder the fish, the less blue light makes it through to the opsins. This would allow the hogfish to tweak the accuracy of its color matches to better evade predators. How well it's dressed for the occasion is a matter of life and death, and it can't very well bend its neck to look, said S.M. Johnson, a biology professor at Duke University and a co-author of the paper. Despite the newly discovered cells, for hogfish it's not as simple as having a secret ingredient that makes skin sight possible. People often focus on the materials in biology as being magical, Dr. Johnson said. What's really magical is the structure. Biology is able to take some fairly run-of-the-mill molecules and build almost anything by putting them together. Under a hellish ocean habitat, bizarre animals are lurking. For the first time, scientists observed tube worms and other complex ocean creatures dwelling beneath hydrothermal vents. Off the western shores of Central and South America, there is a Lovecraftian, lava-licked realm thousands of feet beneath the ocean. There, on the seafloor, volcanically powered exhaust ports known as hydrothermal vents fire off jets of water that reach temperatures of up to 700 degrees Fahrenheit. While the surfaces and peripheries of these vents have long been known to host a diverse mosaic of life, scientists had never known animals to find a home beneath these hellish geysers. But that changed in July when a diving robot overturned volcanic bedrock pockmarked with hydrothermal vents and revealed an explosion of animal life, including an abundance of tube worms, bizarre creatures that resemble sentient spaghetti. This is the first time that animal life was found below the surface of hydrothermal vents, said Monika Bright, an ecologist at the University of Vienna and lead scientist on the expedition. Microbial life was previously known to exist within these hollows, but the idea that animals were ensconced within vaults of volcanic rock, bathing in darkness, seems shocking. The deeper you go, the warmer it goes, the less oxygen there is, the more toxic chemicals are in it, Dr. Bright said. It's very shallow, but it's still below the Earth's crust. But not all experts were so surprised by the discovery. I think it makes perfect sense, said Julie Huber, a marine geochemist and microbiologist at the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution in Massachusetts who wasn't involved with the work. The shallow subfloor, where temperatures are likely cool enough for animals to survive, is what I think of as a subfloor conveyor belt for microbes, nutrients and, now, animals. Much about these unusual habitats is a mystery. But like many revelations found at the bottom of the sea, this discovery once again pushes the boundaries of what scientists consider possible, perhaps even normal, for life on Earth. Hydrothermal vents, first discovered off the Galapagos Islands, are Dalask chimneys and chasms that often grow atop or close to mid-oceanic ridges, vast volcanic fissures in the seafloor made by the divergence of two tectonic plates. Deep below, the magmatic heat roasts percolating seawater, which jets back out into the water column as superheated, mineral-rich soups. Despite their extreme natures, these vents are metropolises of strange critters. Common among them are tube worms, which start life as free-swimming larvae before becoming immobile adults that grow to several feet in length and that are fed by sulfur-eating bacteria living in their guts. Dr. Bright suspected that these wiggly weirdos could also be found beneath the vents. It's kind of a really crazy idea I had, she said. To find out and to improve our understanding of the connections between life above and below hydrothermal vents, Dr. Bright led a team aboard Fokker 2, a research ship owned by the Schmidt Ocean Institute. From June 27 to July 29, the researchers sailed to an eruption-prone section of the East Pacific Rise, a spreading seafloor schism that runs roughly parallel to South America. There, they set loose Sebastian, a remotely operated vehicle with two arm-like appendages to which drills, scoops and saws can be affixed. It approached the frothing vents, politely flipped some volcanic rocks and peeked inside. It exposed what geologists sometimes refer to as hollows, labyrinths of glassy rock cavities stretching in several directions, some decorated with arches and pillars made of once molten lava now frozen in time. Through these tunnels, water was flowing at a surprisingly temperate 75 degrees Fahrenheit, and every time the submersible looked inside these concealed geologic mazes, it saw animals, including myriad adult tube worms. They were just growing in there, living in there, Dr. Bright said. Snails, as well as different types of slithering worms, were also slinking about. The discovery raises new questions about deep-sea ecosystems. For instance, are there links between the types of animal life and microbes found within the hollows? I also can't help but wonder if there is some life stage more commonly found in the subfloor, such as larvae, Dr. Huber said. For some, this discovery has engendered dreams of otherworldly life. I always think about ocean worlds when I am studying vents, Dr. Huber said. Biological crucibles may exist within the icy, carapace-covered seas of Enceladus, a moon of Saturn that has key ingredients for life and that potentially may also have hydrothermal vents on its seafloor. But for Dr. Bright, Earth is all that matters. I'm not thinking of other planets and moons, I'm thinking that there's so much mystery to be discovered in our Earth, she said. I feel like I know this place. I've studied this place for 30 years, and still, you can find something unexpected. But for Dr. Bright,